So 3 seconds ago, Ben said he didn't have an intro. That's that's what he pulled out of his ass. Sonic,
I
let's
think it's
do it.
pretty good. I was like, shit, what am I going to do? It's pretty good.
We'll take it. Well, listen, if you know Ben, you know he's got to go fast.
Hey, remember, if you watch this movie, you're going to watch it right here in your
In my
lungs.
lungs, in my lungs. So Sonic 3, well, it didn't just come out. It came out a good while ago, but I just saw
Yeah.
it yesterday. Because I
Look,
always
it's
see movies
good,
on.
man. It was good.
So
Sonic's underrated trilogy, man.
yeah, it's
Underrated
a
trilogy.
nice little franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Sonic. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
play a ton of the games, but I know of I know about Knuckles and Amy and Shadow,
Mm-hmm. I played a
Tails.
couple, yes. I know enough to know Tails, Knuckles, Shadow. The other, like, Mecha Sonic or whatever.
I've seen it before, but I don't. I was like, I mean, I've seen that in pictures,
Yeah,
but
I had to look up who the characters were at the end of Sonic 3. But everything else I pretty much knew.
I knew who
Dr.
Amy
Eggman,
was.
I knew Dr. Eggman.
Yeah,
So,
Jim Carrey, baby. So
yeah,
we're gonna rank them. I actually haven't made a ranking, so I'm gonna be doing this on the fly. But
me too.
we're gonna rank the Sonic movies, and I'm gonna make Ben go first. So Ben, in third
All right.
place, so I have time to
In
think about
third
it.
place,
In third place,
and this is a really hard list to make because I think all of them you could argue in your own personal way, like which one's the best and which one's not the best. I liked all of them, but I'm going to rank it in terms of how much I enjoyed it and how engaged I was, And that's why Sonic 2 is going to be third for me. I know, a little controversy. For me personally, too many things were happening for me to fully be in too many things were happening engaged in the story. I thought they did the story extremely well in Sonic 1. I was kind of blown away when I first saw the first Sonic. And then Sonic 3, they did Shadow's story different but similar, and you're like, oh, okay, he's got loss different from Sonic, and you're focusing on Shadow in the third one. You're focusing on Sonic in the first one. The second one's kind of like Eggman, Knuckles, Tails, all these different emotions. It was a lot to keep up for me. I still like every Sonic movie I enjoyed. I need to stress that, Me personally, I just couldn't get it. It wasn't very memorable to me, and it was still good. I just couldn't. I wouldn't rewatch it again as much as I would want to rewatch the first and third. So that's why the second one is third for me.
actually, I'm gonna bet with the second one in last place. Again, I think they're all good, and the second one is included in that. It's kind of like, honestly, the Sonic movies kind of remind me of like a better version of Illumination movies because they use pop music too, but they use it in better ways, and they also don't recycle the same 5 songs.
That's a good shout because no, I agree with you.
Yeah, they have like quippy jokes, but they feel more thought out and more like legitimately clever. Like when Sonic is running from the avalanche and Knuckles comes busting down the hill after him, and Sonic goes, "Great, it's the Winter Soldier." Like that's fun. Okay,
That's funny. That's
a
funny.
good joke. And Sonic, and like I really enjoy all of them. Just like Ben, Sonic, I find the one I've decided in my head, the one I have in first place actually has some legit emotional punch to me. I actually think I would argue that objectively Sonic 2 is probably the best one, but in terms of my enjoyment,
Yes.
I enjoy it the least. But listen, lots of things to like about it. I like the character of Tails. We're gonna give another
Tails
shout
is
out to
great. Yes.
we're gonna give another shout out to Cruz here because you can go fuck yourself. I really like the dance fight scene in the Russian bar that they did, Siberian bar. I enjoy seeing Shamar more. I love the humor that a Donut Lord's wife's sister had in the first Sonic. I thought it was hysterical. I think she gives some more really funny stuff here. Again, speaking of Sonic, I think you get so many little jokes that are great with the rings. Knuckles is a great character because he's not like a reframe of Sonic. He's a totally different kind of
Yeah. It's a completely different character. Yeah.
honor driven, but he feels real and get jokes about him crushing the hand. If I had to say why it's in last place, this is the point where the Eggman humor, I like it. I do think it's funny. I preferred it in the first movie. Where in the first movie it's kind of like it's weird enough, but also witty enough that you get some laughs on me. We'll talk more about that in a second. Um, and yeah, it doesn't have that. It doesn't really stick with me that much. Like I'm trying to dig through my brain right now the things I remember about it, and I do remember a lot. Like Tails comes out, and there's a lot of some fun action in there, and
Yeah.
Knuckles crushing people's hands, which is great. You of course get Super Saiyan Sonic, but I it just doesn't. Like Ben said, it didn't really stick with me, and I don't really. It's not what I would say as memorable as 1 and 3, and I might be a little biased because I
Yes.
just saw 3, but
I've got to. I gotta applaud the people in charge of doing Sonic in terms of like the voice actors that they got. Knuckles is Idris Elba. I don't know if you knew that.
are you
Um,
serious?
yeah, that's Idris Elba is Knuckles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and guess
Dude,
what?
that's so funny.
Guess who is Shadow? Do you know who Shadow is?
Keanu Reeves, I knew that one.
Keanu Reeves. Idris
Yeah,
Elba and Keanu Reeves in a
yeah,
Sonic movie? And then Sonic is, I don't know his name, but it's the guy from Parks and Rec. And he's a fan favorite character from Parks and Rec. He's also on SNL. I mean, perfect voice to do Sonic. But then you have Idris
yeah.
Elba and Keanu Reeves as Sonic characters. Couldn't tell you who Tails is, but I mean, Tails is good enough, so it doesn't really matter. But
Before we move on to second place, I just wanted to mention of course, if we're going to talk about Sonic, we have to talk about this, is that the second movies are very notorious for actually, listening to their fans. And of course, the biggest example of this is the original trailer that came out of Sonic, what Sonic looks like in that trailer. And there was just
there's a conspiracy.
there's like public outrage and they said, okay, well, I'm taking it down. We're going to rework it. And this is actually a nice little area where, like, I think, again, Illumination, take notes. When you make your second Mario movie, look at the Sonic movies. Like, do something like that. And also, I hope I get a different conversation, but like, I enjoy that they're not like bent over to their fans, and you shouldn't be. Like, obviously, we can play that like the movie theaters don't listen to their fans. They shouldn't just listen to their fans because we don't know what we're talking about. But I like that's like, people want Sonic to look like a freaking dirty street rat. Like, what's going on here, man? This doesn't look good. And like, okay, fine, we'll make it more accurate to what the video game looked like. I appreciate that a
No,
lot.
there's a conspiracy theory that, I mean, I truly think it was just, they just were like, oh, shoot, I didn't realize that Sonic's appearance was that important. We're going to rework that. But there's a conspiracy theory that they did it on purpose as a marketing scheme. I disagree with it, but there is a conspiracy. And
If that is happening, then that is genius.
that's genius. They did it on
That is
purpose.
beyond genius.
Yeah. So I
That
don't
is
know,
some
but
Spider-Man Far From Home level shit.
I know. But all right. Do you want me to go? Or you want to go
Yeah.
for the
For two,
first and
I'll go.
second?
I'll go for second. I'll talk about the first and in a second. In second place I have Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I enjoy this movie a good bit. I thought Jim Carrey's humor was actually better in this movie than in the previous movie. There were a couple jokes, one that I'm not gonna say here, that made by John Rock. And I was like, can't believe you did that. Of course, you got to talk about with the new one. You got to talk about Shadow, and of course, and as these kinds of movies go, as there's more sequels, the threats get bigger, and now the whole world is gonna blow up, right? But Shadow, I think, is a really good antithesis to Sonic. What if Sonic didn't have someone, or the person he cared about got killed, or not to put too fine a point on it, but died? And how would Sonic respond? And you kind of have Shadow to answer that question. We actually just this is right after we recorded our Daredevil episode, and I talked about in the Daredevil episode how we've seen up a zillion times the idea of like, well, is this the right way? Are you just as bad as me? And of course, when again, spoilers for Sonic 3, when Shadow takes out Donut Lord, and Sonic's like, I'm gonna mess you up. Shadow's like, you're just the same as me. It's like, yeah, we've seen that before, but it's a reasonably effective version of it. Like,
Yeah.
Shadow was a person who was being tested on, found this girl who loved him, kind of struggled with his identity. Is he really just a monster like in that movie? Or is he real? Or is he like a worthwhile person? And then she dies. It's heartbreaking. I actually wish they spent more time on that because I thought that was actually pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
I thought it was rushed a little bit, that part specifically.
Yeah.
Because it
I
was,
could
I
have.
mean, it was only like an hour and 45-minute movie. I think
Yeah.
if it was 2 hour 15 minutes, it would have been fine.
Yeah. I made it a little too long, but I think what you certainly could have done is you could have had a little bit less of the Daddy Eggman thing going on. And what I appreciate about this was Jim Carrey said that he was going to retire after Sonic 2. And I was like, that's a heck of a way to go out. I think for Sonic 3, they're like, we'll give you a real send off if you come back. And you see that in his kind of heroic sacrifice at the end, where he's talking to the guy who always made him those goat milk lattes, and he loves how he makes them. You're the one who really cared about me, Bill. And again, it's corny, it's cheesy, but again, I'm very on board with it. And you kind of have to agree to the rules of a movie. And the Sonic movies established right now, like, this is going to be silly. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense. Don't think too hard about it. We're just here to have a fun time. And if you're
Yeah.
willing to do that, they'll give you you'll get a lot out of it. You get more
Mhm.
great Knuckles humor. You get a great line from Knuckles where he says to Sonic, he's like, listen, part of this is trusting each other. I'm going to honor that even if you're not going to. I'm going to trust you.
Yeah.
I don't like the Knuckles show, and I don't really want to talk about it, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I like Sonic 3. I think Sonic 1 has some real punch to it that I'll talk about in a second. Even though, again, 3 on a movie level objective, how good is this movie level? Probably better than Sonic 1. But I like 1 more for some other reasons. But yeah, 3, you get more from, you get a lot of good laughs, you get a lot of good action, you get a Shadow, I think, is a more compelling villain in the third movie than Robotnik was in the second movie. It was like,
I agree.
motivation is, I don't like Sonic, and he sent me to a mushroom world. Yeah, and you get more Super Sonic, you get some Super Shadow in action, you get the dance sequence is just crazy.
That is the best scene out of all 3 movies because I was nonstop laughing for about 5 minutes. That is the best scene.
Yeah,
It's Jim Carrey dancing with himself. Like, what more
it's
do you
almost
want?
it's almost like one actor playing the same character, or 2 characters in a movie played by the same actor. Yeah,
And
I
look
like.
at the camera.
I gotta mention my favorite joke. By the way, first of all, if they actually killed Donut Lord like that, I would have flipped my shit. So I'm glad he's alive. And 2, my favorite joke in the whole movie was when they have the thing that changed their face, and Donut Lord's wife changes her face to the other person's like, is where he goes, oh yeah. And she just decks him in the chat. Though, like, that was, apart from obviously the joke that will not be named, but
Will not be named.
go, I mean, listen, if you want to go there and knock yourself out, but I'm not going to be the one who says it. Yeah, all here is Ben. What you got at second?
Fortunately, we agree. I have Sonic 3 in second.
And Ben.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping you would disagree with me.
I kind of want, yeah,
But look,
we're just too
the
attractive.
one thing I do disagree with is, I mean, I think in terms of a movie, Sonic was as perfect as it could have been. I don't think Sonic could have been much better. The first Sonic movie, I think Sonic is the best one in terms of like just pure movie. You know, I think some people could enjoy the second and third one better because I think the third one is funnier. I think the second one has more characters and more likable characters and action and stuff going on, you know? But in terms of like just a movie, I mean, do you have an origin of just the main character and his origin story, but not really focusing too much on the past, showing how he is, showing that he's alone and all he wants is just people, but he's also different, you know? So people are afraid of him because he's different. I think the themes are too much for a kid's movie, if I'm being honest, you know?
Honestly, yeah,
Because like Sonic's like the part that I was like, shit, that's what this movie's gonna be. Because the first time I watched the first Sonic movie, it was at Hamilton Lakes, and it was on a giant inflatable screen, and I was in a floaty, like watching all the kids on the swim team. At first, I was watching the kids. Then I started watching the movie, and I said, "Fuck them kids," because this movie's great. Like I was like, the one part is when he was playing ball with himself, and then he was like,
fuck you, kids. I'm watching Sonic.
"Yeah, I know."
Dude, I was going to talk about that scene.
He was playing baseball with himself, and then the part where I was like, "Oh shit," was when like at the end of that scene, where he's like, "Oh, I really am alone."
I
I'm
was
like,
going to talk
"That's where
about
this
the.
movie's going. That's
Yeah.
where this movie's going." I'm like, "Oh shit." this is a real movie. This is not a kids movie.
Yeah.
And then like the themes that overlay in this, like, yeah, it's funny and there's some funny humor, but damn, the themes are like real movie stuff. It's
Yeah.
like real themes. Sonic character was perfect. Oh Lord, being the father figure, but them not saying you're gonna be his dad, you're just gonna be his guardian, also was the perfect way to do it. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's yeah. And then I mean, Jim Carrey's Dr. Eggman. You can't really go wrong if Jim Carrey's in your movie. You know, he's kind of the perfect villain in the
And I
first
think he
one.
did his best work in Sonic 1.
I agree. I agree. I think in terms of humor, like I said, Sonic 3 is second, solely because of humor. I think Sonic 3 I laughed the most at, 100%. You know, but I mean,
Glass in case of emergency.
you can't really talk talk shit about the first movie because it is almost it's as good as it could have been. I couldn't tell you what more
Yeah.
they needed to do to be a better movie. You know, there's some things you
Yeah.
could have done to make it more enjoyable for the audience. But in terms of like movie, like we're gonna have character, we're gonna build the character, we're gonna show he needs help, we're gonna give him help, we're gonna have a guy that wants to take him for his power, we're gonna have the help start to connect, form a family, and then we're gonna have humor. The sister, by the way, on point. So
Dude,
funny. That sister's hilarious. It was like
DIBORC.
I couldn't really tell you what more they needed to do to be a better movie. Obviously, more enjoyable, sure. But like in terms of a better movie, there's like you could have tried some stuff, but I don't know if it would have made a better movie. Sonic, yeah, we have the same list, but Sonic's
Yeah.
just a good movie, you know?
For Sonic 1 for me, I think what I mean when I say it's like the better movie, I think like comparing the three, I could understand. I don't know how hard I could argue against it if someone said like, hey, listen, Sonic 1 is simple. It's a road trip movie. You go from here to there. There's fights along the way and it's over. It's not exactly super complex. And here you have two where you're introducing more characters. There's more Sonic action. There's more jokes. There's moves at a much faster pace. You've got 3 where there's a bigger threat. You're bringing back Jim Carrey. You're introducing Shadow. You got all the. I'm like, the effects are probably better in 2 and 3.
Yeah,
And I'm looking at. I'm like,
I could agree.
I understand that. It's hard to argue with that, but I gotta say, this is similar to.
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't exist anymore. But if you've ever seen The Boys, and I'm not saying Sonic is like The Boys, but I'm saying like my favorite season of The Boys is season 2, and it's because it's got all the best things in there. And I feel like all the best jokes are in here. I think Jim Carrey's humor is the best in Sonic 1. I think that I agree with Ben that the sister's humor is hysterical. My goodness. Tied up in her own house. Oh my God. It's absolutely too funny. Donald actually gets a lot of really good lines, and he has some fun chemistry with Jim Carrey. He punches him out. You get the fun phone call with him. Jim Carrey has so many good lines in here, dude. And they're not overboard weird, but they're like weird enough to be quirky and funny. Like when he is releasing the drones on the road, it goes, "You want to know what your tax dollars are going to?" or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or when like he's chasing Sonic across the Pyramid of Giza, he goes, "You can't jump on that. It's one of the 7 wonders." I think it's funnier. And honestly, I enjoy the action in 1 a lot. In particular, the scene in the bar where they're going down his bucket list. It reminded me of the Quicksilver scene in X-Men Days of Future Past, where everything slows down and Sonic's going around and moving everything where he wants
That's
it to be.
definitely where they got that from visually.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best scene in Days of Future Past. I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I actually really like Days of Future Past. But
it was definitely better than the next one.
But yeah, and also the thing I didn't even talk about yet is Ben's absolutely right. This one has the biggest like emotional punch of all 3. Like I was absolutely gonna talk about that baseball scene where Sonic Sparrow goes, "I really am alone," and you like feel how much he and you feel how and you feel like how like hurt he is when he realizes like, oh, they found me. I have to go to the mushroom world now, and like he's with Donut Lord, and the whole time they're going, and they're like, "Hey, I gotta get to San Francisco." And then I have to leave. And I'll use a different thing because Ben took my fucking example. like when Sonic throws the ring out and sees the mushroom world, and it's like, all right, I guess it's time to go now. And he's like, "Don't, yeah, these guys together." Like, and like, I
Uh-huh.
as like a callous 20 like something like not old enough to like understand humanity yet, but not young enough to be stupid. Like hates the world right now. There's like some of my animal rage is like, "Oh, buddy,
Yeah.
no, go live with them, man. Go be part of their family." Like it
Mhm.
really made me feel like in a way that frankly isn't always happening in movies anymore. Like compared to that, I think the Shadow plotline was handled well. It could have been better in 3, but like compared to what happened in Sonic 1, it felt flat, bro. Like Sonic
Yeah.
1, when I was like,
In
buddy,
terms of like the way or the underlying themes that this movie
yeah,
is like pushing,
about like family and belonging and
yeah,
all that kind of
it's kind of like the only other or the most recent movie that I've seen is probably Inside Out or Inside Out 2. But that is a movie that is literally emotions, you
yeah.
know? So it's going to push that. How is
Did you see?
Sonic such a good movie for that? You know, I was not prepared for it.
Yeah. There's legitimately, like, you know what? I'm gonna stand by it. The best jokes are in Sonic 1. All right, you literally have a. Granted, the joke's a little inappropriate, but like he's flying up in the elevator, goes
Yeah.
like, "Is there a child in that bag?" He's like, well, no. Well, there is, but it's not mine. It's like, that's not your child in that bag. It's just like, oh man. Sonic 1 is the best one, I think. And I
Yeah.
think I would defend that. I think it is the best movie. I think I'm going to take that back. I think it
I
is
I would
the best movie
understand.
in the movie. Yeah.
I would definitely argue that it's not as simple as people would argue, you know, with the themes that they like express, you know? But you could easily look at it and say, yeah, it's simple. And obviously, if you're attractive but you don't know movies, I would understand why you like Sonic 2
Yeah.
and 3 better.
And if you're not attractive, you
But
definitely don't know movies. But if you're watching this
yeah,
podcast, you just got more
if you're not
attractive.
attractive and you don't know movies, I'm sorry.
Well, then this
You know,
podcast is going to help. We're going to help you out. All right.
we're helping. We're helping.
We're helping your movie
Well, yeah.
knowledge, and you are getting sexier the more you listen and the more you watch.
Hello.
You are spending your time with the right people today. Do
Oh
you know
yeah.
how much movie knowledge is contained in Ben's jawline? Dude, it is utterly,
You can actually
utterly,
see my jaw now. It's crazy. I don't have a
you
double
can.
chin anymore.
Mine's like, my face looks fat with beard, actually. I need to trim this down, but
That's no. I feel my jawline looks worse with a beard. Usually it looked better when I was fat, but now it looks worse with a beard.
you're slowing
Like when I
down,
was
man.
fat,
You
it
gotta keep up.
double chin, but then like without it, now you can actually see the jaw.
God forbid you should be in shape. What are you weighing?
Yeah, I need to drink more milkshakes. All right, to
So
recap,
we're gonna, so, okay, that's
Sonic
fine.
1, Sonic 1, Sonic 3,
Sonic 3,
Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
They're
You just
all
did 2 and
good.
3 backwards. Oh,
Yeah,
never mind.
yeah,
Nope.
they're all good. So yeah, if you haven't seen 1 or 2, or if you haven't seen 3, why are you watching this podcast? If you've seen 3 but not 1 or 2,
Yeah, like,
then I recommend. And if you haven't seen any of them, I would recommend as well.
yeah,
They're just good.
they're a good watch. This is especially good, like, honestly, whoever you're with, unless your friends are assholes, in which case, get some new friends that are preferably attractive and know about movies. Then you can watch
Mm-hmm.
Sonic with them. But like pretty much in any situation, if like we're gonna watch, it's one of the Sonic movies goes on. All right. This is it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a nice time.
If you want a movie to go to sleep to, like, do you want to entertain until you get tired? Either one of these Sonic movies are good, you know?
They're also decent party
So,
movies, I think.
oh, you can put it on in the background and, like, play
Yeah.
cards, you know?
Yeah.
Easy.
With a lot of people
So, yeah.
like being like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
dumb, nice, bro."
Yeah.
Don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
brain. Yeah. So there you go. There's Sonic. Ben, you're attractive. You're
Yo,
very good
you know
looking.
movies.
So
Oh.
we'll see you next time.